I'm so excited that you're here. Hello, replay viewers. I wanted to make sure that you guys knew that today or this whole week is about critical thinking. And that's hey Janet, how are you? But this entire week is about critical thinking and basically how to help our students figure out that they need to think outside of the box. So most of the students at most of the students at my institution are from, well, I'll say it's a mix between large towns, so such as the Dallas-Fort Worth area, large cities, and also smaller towns. So I will tell you, thank you so much for retweeting. I will tell you that I have really had to provide experiences for my students to think critically about different aspects of life and also about education, period. So let me introduce myself. My name is Dr. Jennifer Edwards and I'm at Tarleton State University. We're located in Stephenville, Texas, but I am periscoping today as part of a LEAPTexas initiative. And so LEAPTexas stands for Liberal Education and America's Promise. Basically that means that we are promoting liberal arts in education. I am from the social sciences background, so I am an I'm an associate professor of communication studies at Tarleton State, but I also serve in another capacity across campus as the associate vice president for student success and assistant vice president for student success and multicultural initiatives. And so it's a great way to truly bring both of the parts together. So like that engagement, hey, Dr. Tony Edwards, thank you for joining. So that engagement as well as the teaching. So not making them bump heads, but really pulling both of those together. So in my experience in higher education, and I've been at 3 institutions in Texas, I've been in higher education over 15 years, and it's been great because I've been very fortunate to travel with students abroad, involve them in internship opportunities, provide leadership opportunities for them, as well as provide them with experiences to do service learning, to present in front of an audience. And so this is something I truly believe in. Critical thinking is something for which I have a very huge passion for. So today we're going to talk about easy ways to incorporate critical thinking, but please do not limit this to the things that I will talk about. Please feel free to type on the screen and let us know what university or college or business you represent as well. So do that, and I will talk about key things to consider whenever we are incorporating critical thinking in our classrooms. And also, let me just tell you, critical thinking does not just happen in the classroom. It happens all across campus, all within the community. And so just to make sure that people know that critical thinking can happen in student life and it can also happen in academic affairs. And that's important to remember because sometimes we forget about that. All right, so here we go. So some key things to consider. So the first thing is make it relevant for the students. Students are used to knowing the why behind everything. So making it relevant. We are doing this. Hey, thank you so much for joining. We are doing this because we need to make it relevant for students. And that's very important because whenever students know the why behind an assignment or an experience or why we're going on study abroad to Canada instead of to China, it's important to know the why behind an experience. The second thing is public consumption is good. So with public consumption, that basically means whenever you, as the professor or as the person leading the experience, whenever you provide an opportunity for students to actually present in front of an audience. And that's always great because the experience actually has life then. Because if what the students are doing just stays within the 4 walls of the classroom, it doesn't really make a difference. But with the web, with our community, you have an experience just waiting to happen for your students. So making it relevant for the students, but also making it relevant and impactful for the community. And so public consumption is good. And so that basically means whatever they do, they present it, or they presented on the web, or you have a conference for people, and so that's important as well. So education for the masses is good, and you never know what spark that will have for someone to want to go into higher education as an undergraduate student or as a graduate student. That's very important. So to truly provide education for the masses. All right, so the third thing is reflection has to happen. They have this dynamic experience and then it ends, and so what? So that's why reflection is important, to truly enable students to know you made an impact and this is how you made an impact, but think outside of this, what are the other ways in which you made an impact as well. So reflection has to happen. And don't forget, reflection can happen in a written form, reflection can happen in a video form like this one, and then also reflection can happen through innovative means. So they can reflect in 140 characters. Yeah, that sounds easy, but it really isn't. So to truly provide opportunities for students to reflect. All right. Also, students should have ownership. So students should choose the experiences that they want to have. So you produce the structure of the experience, or basically I'll come up with, oh, let's do a service learning experience, and then I throw it out to the students. They form groups, and they basically as a group decide what experience they would like to have or what group they would like to impact. So providing ownership for the students, and as soon as they get that ownership, everything just blossoms. And so I have not had a bad experience with that, and I've done that probably for over 10 years regarding high impact practices such as engaging experiences in the classroom. Take ownership, they will work harder. Yes, Janet, I completely agree. 150% if I can do that. But ownership is so important, and ownership is important for us as well. So it's the same for our students. Our students are not different from the experiences that our students' experiences are not different from our own experiences. All right, and last but not least, high impact practices. So we're going to talk about these, but basically as an overview, in the next few moments, I am going to talk about the following. So I'll talk about first year seminars. I'll also talk about common intellectual experiences, learning communities, writing intensive courses, as well as undergraduate research, which is my favorite. Also diversity and global learning, service learning, community-based learning, and internships and capstone projects and courses. And so those are going to be important, but I will not spend a lot of time on all of them, but I will emphasize to all of you, if you have any follow-up questions, please let me know, and you can reach out to me at drgtedwards on Twitter, or you can send an email to me, drgtedwards@gmail.com. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing is first year seminars. So first year seminars are basically whenever all of the first year students at an institution get together and they all take this class together and everything's supposed to be great and wonderful, but sometimes it isn't. And so they want to be part of a group. They are at a university. They've never stepped foot on a university campus or on a community college campus. And this is a great way for you to truly engage your students. And so with first year seminars, you can encourage them to think critically by having them solve a problem. Whether it's a university problem, whether it's a community problem, whether it's a state problem, having them solve or address a problem and research that problem. So you can read more about this. I wrote about this on Niola, N-I-O-L-A, and just search for Tarleton State or Jennifer Edwards, and you'll be able to see my assignment that I did with my first year students a few years ago. But it's amazing to have them solve a problem and talk about that ownership. That's super important. And so they solved the problem of parking. Parking is always a problem on university campuses. They solved the problem of swipe card systems or just the problem of swipe card systems at the residence halls across campus. They talked about things that are more relevant for them. Financial aid, that's always relevant. And so, or financial literacy, that's always relevant for them as well. So enabling students to form groups to solve a problem. So those were all university problems. And also first year seminars are a great way for faculty, whether it's as a faculty member who's teaching the course or a faculty member who is helping, that teaching faculty member brings in to teach the students in the course. There's a lot of things going on outside of my door, so forgive me, but those are very important for those faculty members to connect with those students, because I'll be honest with you, if they don't connect with them in the first year seminar, those students will not see their faculty members within their discipline. So I'm in communication. I taught the first year seminar. They will usually never see a communication faculty member until they join their junior year at our institution. So it's important to have those relationships formed in the first year seminar. So moving on from first year seminar, but let me know if you have any questions, just type them in. The next thing is common intellectual experiences. And those are very important. And I have some relevant common intellectual experiences. So my first one is the Great Debate. And we were actually very fortunate to travel to Chico, California, and it was great. But Chico State, beautiful campus, but they were very gracious and patient with us because they had enabled us to shadow their Great Debate. And so that basically means that we walked with them all around campus, and we saw the great events that were happening downtown in the courthouse. It was hey Ryan, thank you for joining. It was a great way to learn about, well, Ryan, I'm talking about the Great Debate, so feel free to type anything that you remember about the Great Debate or anything that just really that you learned from the Great Debate at Tarleton. So we replicated that entire process at Tarleton. So they had tents set up all downtown, and each of these student organizations had an interactive game to encourage critical thinking about a key issue. So the issue that we addressed at Tarleton was gun policy. So that's different whether it's state or federal, but gun policy was such a big deal, and the students wanted to address it. So we created games. So for instance, Ryan, who was one of my students in the Texas Social Media Research Institute, we actually created a pin the tail on the duck game. And so that was neat because you had to answer questions, and then based on the questions, you had chances to take the clothespin and to pin them on a sheet. And there was an outline of a duck on the sheet. And so if you pin the tail on the duck, then in the appropriate place, then you would also get some prizes. And we had some prizes donated by our residential living and learning team. So it was like a great collaborative opportunity, but they had Nerf guns at another table. They had, oh goodness, lots of things. So if you're interested in any of those games, just check out youtube.com/TSMRI and you can see those. So the next thing is, the common intellectual experiences. This actually happened last night, but within our College of Liberal and Fine Arts, we also had town halls. And so that is where a faculty member or a leader on campus sat around a table with a group of 10 students, and they talked about a critical issue, and the students were encouraged to examine the issue from 360 degrees. And so that was great because sometimes students, or even faculty members and staff, they have this one notion of this is how it is, this is how it's going to be, and they never think about the other side. So that was a great way to have those critical conversations. And so the faculty member was that sounding board for people, but also they served as a party that did not typically influence the conversation. So they kept the conversation going. So that's the town hall, and that was also viewed at Chico State as well. So Chico State was a great foundation for our common intellectual experiences. So the next thing is learning communities. So learning communities can be residential or non-residential. So you can have them in the residence hall, or you can have them just with people who want to opt into a learning community. So for instance, with our students who are in developmental education, we are going to place them all within a community of learners, not necessarily a learning community because it's already coined at our institution, but we're going to place them in a community of learners in which they will learn about how to persist as a team, the importance of study skills, the importance of different concepts. And so I met with one of our team members yesterday, and so she has an outline of exactly how she wants it to go, and so they have talking points each week. So it's going to be a merging between mentoring as well as a learning community, and they will all learn throughout their first and second semesters here at Tarleton. And I know I'm giving a lot of Tarleton examples, but just type below if you have some examples or if you have any questions as well. Also, based on those learning communities, people are commonly experiencing the same thing together, whether they talk or not. So people get homesick, people are having struggles with their classes, and so to have those critical conversations is very important at an appropriate time of the year. Also, I participated a few years ago in Doorknocking, and so that basically means you knock on the door, you meet the residents. I usually had a basket of candy, and you ask them about a certain topic. So how are your classes going, or if it's around Thanksgiving, how, tell me about your family, how is everything going, things of that nature. So you had some talking points per residence hall. So, and also academic influences. It's important to have faculty in it as well, because then they can talk about the things that they incorporate in the classroom, and also they can see the students on a different level in the residence hall. And so that's very interesting. As a faculty member, I love going into a residence hall because I get to see my students in their domain. Usually they're in our domain, but I like to see our students in their domain, because they're sometimes completely different people, and you get to know them on a different level, and usually they're like, oh, you're here. So it's a great way to truly build relationships, and also to truly build community. The next thing is writing intensive courses. So with writing intensive courses, those are very important because, number one, students get to learn a critical skill that they will use for the rest of their lives. And then also, number two, they get to get their ideas on paper. And so that's important, because whenever they are writing across the curriculum, or whenever they are in a writing intensive course, they get to truly refine their writing skills, and that will make them think critically whenever they go into the workforce. So that's important as well. So writing intensive courses, you can have them write about a topic that is very important, or that is a very pertinent topic right now, and then they can get those ideas out on paper, and then also they can have a peer review process and potentially talk about those in a public forum, which would be neat. Also, collaborative assignments and projects. So teamwork is key. And also teamwork makes grading a little bit easier as well. So teamwork basically accomplishes probably 15 goals in one assignment. So, and they also get to evaluate their peers as well. So with collaborative assignments and projects, teamwork, having them, presenting them with the assignment, having them go together, think critically about a topic, and then I usually have a scaffold focused approach where we talk about the intro, or basically the problem statement, purpose statement, and research questions. So we would have all of those, and the next week we would talk about, or next 2 weeks, we would talk about and incorporate and carry out the review of the literature, and so on and so forth. So collaborative assignments, and the same thing would happen if I had them present a presentation. So they would do it as a team. Google Drive is amazing for group work, and so that's something that I've used for the past, actually since 2006. I've used Google Docs with classes, and so that's been a game changer. And also it makes grading a lot easier as well. And you can see students who are headed down the wrong path, and you can steer them toward the right path when it comes to writing. And also you can see what's happening with groups who are not truly meshing and collaborating. Okay, so next, undergraduate research. So undergraduate research is the one I love the most because it is truly one of the most impactful experiences for students. And so the first thing is like conducting the research, finding a topic for which the students have an interest, and then also providing a public forum for the students to actually present that in front of a group of people. So for example, I had 3 public speaking courses, and I had them all talk about a topic regarding environmental sustainability, whether they thought it was great or whether they really hated it and think that people should not really focus on sustainability. So I had both of those different angles. So they had to produce speeches in their classroom and in groups, and then they had an opportunity to present those speeches within their course time for the entire campus. And so we had 3 sessions going on at once, and we had a 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. I had an office across campus provide food, and then also we had a 1 o'clock. So those were the times of my classes, and so they did not have to come after class time, but they actually presented during their class time to the entire campus. So that is undergraduate research or education for the masses, because they can either do undergrad research or they can do teamwork in another context, so writing a paper, but presenting that in a forum is super important because they also get those questions. that they would not normally get regarding their research project. So you could have a community member who hated environmental sustainability, and the students would respond to that in a very, hopefully, a very gracious manner. So the next thing is presenting that research in front of people at a regional or national conference. So this is something that we've been doing a lot of lately, but at a regional or national conference, the students can actually have their work evaluated by faculty members from everywhere. And so that's great because it makes the students prepare and also to think critically, number one, about what questions will be asked, but also about what questions were asked in that particular session. Okay, so diversity and global learning. So with global learning, it's important because you can do a study abroad or you can study away within the United States. So with both of those, some of them are very high cost, and then some of them are not, do not cost as much. So I traveled with a group of students to Galveston, and we actually embarked on a cruise. And so with that cruise, we visited 3 countries, but they were examining social media from the perspective of marketing from the cruise company perspective. And so that was important because they had an opportunity to not only, they got more than I ever thought that they would get, but they were able to view the cruise industry from a lens that was multifaceted. So they interviewed, they observed crew members, they observed families, they observed target audiences, they observed a lot of different facets of the cruise industry, and also how they marketed on social media. And so that was a part of their research study. And then after their research study, they cruised, came back to the research study, and then they presented that at a national conference, and then they presented about the methodology at a regional conference. So incredible experience. So that's infusing global learning as well as undergraduate research. Also, even study away, you can study in a different part of the state, which is very cost effective because some students haven't even traveled outside of the radius, like maybe a 100 or 200 mile radius of the city in which they were born. So that happens more often than not. And so even in our cities, sometimes people who live in Dallas-Fort Worth or even in Chicago or, another city, they commonly do not travel out of that radius, especially if they have a family that is not open to traveling. So it's important to give city individuals from the city experiences in a rural environment and vice versa. So study away is super important and also very cost effective. You can take the plane or the train, or you can drive, or you can take a ship and lots of neat things. And I say ship because there are some ships that basically cruise the river and the rivers of the United States. So you can see several states in one swoop. So next, service learning or community-based learning. That's important because you can connect your students with the community and also encourage them to think critically. So they can create their own temporary food pantry. They can connect with the community by doing a training and development session based on something that they learned in their classes. But it's a great way to educate the community for free and to provide an opportunity for the community folks to provide feedback for the students as well, because there is probably something that the students are missing when providing a training and development opportunity. So we encourage our students to survey and to connect and interview the individuals who work for nonprofits, and then they provide a training and development session, and then they reflect, and then they also receive feedback from the nonprofit folks as well. So it's very good. But one thing I do want to reiterate is that reflection is key. Reflection is key, and written reflections are super important. Also, social media reflections can happen as well, and tie it to a value rubric. If you don't know about value rubrics, go to Google, type in capital VALUE, then type in AACU, and you will find any of the value rubrics that they publish. So they're in PDF format, they're easy to incorporate, and I also sometimes use those as a grading template to create my own grading rubric. So those are value rubrics are primarily utilized for assessment. Okay, and last but not least, we have internships and capstone courses. So internships, you can have an on-campus internship, and then you can have an off-campus internship. Provide the students with a list of things that they will learn in that internship, and then also provide them with a list of people that they will have in their network. And so let me give you an example. The Texas Social Media Research Institute, and that's the organization that, oh my goodness, they've been in existence for 6 years, but I worked with them every day. And we have students who serve as coaches, and so they provide training and development for nonprofits. They run social media accounts for different university and community organizations, and they also do campaigns. But I also teach them about analytics. I teach them about social media research. I teach them about methodology and research. And so they use those aspects, and they are able to list those on their resume, and they also have a ready network of people who can vouch for them whenever they need references or whenever they need someone just to vouch for them, and because it's very important. But internships can help our students reach their goals, and so they have to think critically, because whether it's an on-campus or off-campus internship, they actually have to figure out how in the world they can navigate, number one, their schedule, thinking critically, number two, communicating with someone who is potentially not in their age bracket, number two, and then also how they will balance finances, because most of the internships are not necessarily paid, but it's a valuable experience. And so with us, I look out for any opportunities that I can find to provide our students with some supplements financially. So if there is a festival that's going on and they want someone to cover it, I'll tell the students about it, they can go cover it, and then they can receive financial compensation from that particular organization. But connecting our students with these internships and providing an opportunity for our students to list it on their resume, and they have to think critically about how they're going to infuse everything within a 3-year internship on their resume. And also, in a few moments, I'm interviewing 24 students for a few positions within the Texas Social Media Research Institute. And so these students are hungry for such experiences, and also they can help you as faculty members reach your goal, because they help me with my research. They help me with generating ideas or idea generation. They've been able to, they think in a way that I've never seen before. They are dynamic, and so they have actually helped me throughout the tenure process. And I help them in exchange. And last but not least, capstone courses and projects. Those are important because it's basically all of their courses all rolled into one within their majors. So within communication, having our capstone course, it's tying all of those key concepts and key learning objectives in one very strong experience. And the students are invited to present that in a public forum, but also for their first year and second year peers within their program. I would present this for public consumption because that is a great recruiting opportunity for your program, and it's a great way for your students to stand out in the minds of their future employers as well, or future grad schools. And also it enables others to give feedback. Sometimes that feedback is great, sometimes that feedback is not, but it's also a very, very informal assessment of your program whenever other people provide feedback for your students in a public forum. So that's it. I've spoken for, I would have to say probably 30 minutes because it's 10:28 and I started at 10 o'clock. But I thank you for joining me today for all 30 minutes. And then also let me know if you have any questions. Just type those below. And I'll tell you a little bit about LEAPTexas. LEAPTexas is a dynamic organization. It enables faculty members, assessment folks, to learn how to assess student learning. And that's important because if students are paying big bucks for going to a university or college, they kind of need to know that they are getting some bang for their buck. And so the assessment provides an opportunity for us to tell our story, for us to tell them about the experiences and the high impact educational practices, to let parents know how we will involve their student. And so aside from that, I hope you have a great day. I didn't see anything below, but I hope you have a great day. Don't forget to make an impact. Think critically, encourage others to think critically, and follow LEAPTexas on Twitter at LEAPTexas, and then also follow the hashtag to see all the stuff from this week, hashtag LEAPTexas. And I'm going to tie all of these wonderful things into a digestible infographic so you can see it. And aside from that, have a great day, and I will see you later. Also, don't forget to follow me. I am at DRJT Edwards on Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest, I think. Okay, have a good day.